Howdy, everybody, and welcome to Liberty Libations number 19. We have special guest Will Bell joining us tonight. Will, how's it going, buddy?
Going good, man. I guess I'm not quite the best substitute for Cynthia McKinney, but
That's fair. I mean, a little bit of makeup, I think you could get there.
That was discussed.
How are the blueberries down where you are, Will?
They're great, man. We're past our blooming stage, which is normally like our most hectic time as far as the weather.
Okay.
So we're right on till harvest season.
All
It'll
right.
probably be like a week after our convention or whatever. But
okay. What all goes into like harvest season for blueberries?
There's all kind of different, methods that people, hand picking or machine picking. We used to do both, but for the past, I'd say 20 years, we've been exclusively machine picking for our operation. Yeah. And we have a harvester that straddles the rows of blueberry bushes that we plant, comes down, shakes them. I have a few guys that sit on the back of my harvester and sort them out as they come off the machine.
Nice. Sort out the good ones and the bad ones. Is that how it goes?
Well, at that point, they're just kind of like stacking like crates of blueberries. And then we have a packing shed here that I'm sitting in our office to our packing shed.
Nice.
And we run them down a process line, and that's where we kind of get them all the way down to A quality fruit.
Gotcha. Well, joining us as well is Mr. Zach Varnell. How you doing, Zach?
Cheers.
Good.
Cheers.
Sure, everybody was
Cheers,
hoping it was Cynthia and not me, but
Everyone was thinking that. All right. Well, to kick things off, we have a tweet from Grumpy Gnome. Why is censorship? And the first 4 answers on Google are important, necessary, important for us, and good in schools. This is just a reminder to stop using Google.
Yeah.
Start using Brave. Don't even use DuckDuckGo because they do their crap too. They rank results and all that kind of stuff. So
I used to use DuckDuckGo, and now I honestly keep trying new things and like keep hearing they're not as good as people say, and keep trying the next one. And
yeah, man.
For people that go ahead.
No, I'm just saying I finally made the switch to DuckDuckGo a couple of years ago, and it's hard for me. I'm normally a few years behind any kind of trend. I need something to be.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
they came out and bragged about their censorship.
Yeah, during the whole lockdown situation.
Yeah.
They started doing it, which is like the time where you shouldn't be doing any of that. And so, Robert says DuckDuckGo is Bing. So is it?
Are they like?
Is it owned by Microsoft?
Owned by the same? Yeah.
It might just be Bing's results, because a lot of times, like
that's what I was.
Page, yeah.
I was just going to talk about Start Page, where they basically like use Google, but with like a privacy proxy that doesn't track you. Like,
yeah.
For people that want to use the same
results. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are some interesting browsers coming out now. I can't remember what it was called, but Nick told me one about that is based off Bitcoin. So I found that to be interesting, but I don't know anything.
A browser based off it?
Yeah. Similar to how
work?
Brave uses their basic attention token to fund like all the people who create the browser. Somebody's doing that with Bitcoin.
Well, a lot of the next generation browsers are going to have embedded crypto wallets.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, trust those as far as you can throw them, but at least they're there. They're giving it a thought.
They're there for sure.
Do all of y'all like dabble pretty hardcore in the crypto game? I know Zach does for sure. All you guys in it?
I don't have enough money to even barely call it dabbling at this point. But I would like to.
Yeah.
But you can buy a little bit. You can buy like $5 worth or whatever.
That's I think collectively I have like about $1,000 worth of Bitcoin and like a couple other various things, but it's not like a lot.
Yeah.
Well,
at some point it will be. Yeah.
I bought a bunch of Litecoin when they were like $12.
Mm-hmm.
And then, when they made that run up to like 160, in the low 200s, I was like, hey, daddy wants a vacation. So I don't have them anymore.
I treat mine like a piggy bank. I've literally never sold a single one because I don't want to deal with like the taxes of it or whatever. And I'm just like, I only buy
No,
I-
don't sell. Just swap them. So like if you see one
Yeah.
going down, one going up. Just put it all in.
See, I
Bitcoin.
literally don't even know how to do that yet.
forget all the other ones. Just get Bitcoin.
Yeah, I'll swap all to Bitcoin. Yeah.
That's what we're in the process of doing. We got a poll from another one of our own, Captain and Capistan. I thought this would be interesting to discuss. Which of these Congress lizards most like to watch fight a grizzly bear? Nancy Pelosi, Lindsey Graham, Adam Schiff, or Mitch McConnell?
Ooh, Adam Schiff.
Why?
I might enjoy it a little too much. I don't know. Like if it's audio only, probably Lindsey Graham.
So
You
it's
know,
on a
just
podcast.
Wow, somebody get the bear off of me. You know, just like that southern drawl. Just I'm being attacked by a bear. Help me, please. You
Well,
know,
if we choose Mitch McConnell, then it's also a cocaine bear. So
Cocaine Bear 2. Script's being written now.
All right, who of these four, who do you think would be most likely to survive a bear attack?
Lindsey Graham's a colonel. Maybe he knows a thing or two about fighting. I don't know, but
I'd say
Nancy-
Nancy Pelosi probably. I
Yeah.
can see her like rolling off a cliff and being drunk enough to like go with the fall that she wouldn't sustain injuries.
I don't know though. The
Her
bears can
husband
smell the
served-
menstruation.
Well, her husband already survived that bear attack.
Is this a story? Is this a real story?
Yeah, man.
I'm behind on that one.
It was a big. I think he was kind of a fat dude.
Yeah,
That
Yeah.
happened at home. Remember?
he was a little chubby dude who broke into Pelosi's house and hit him with a hammer.
Yeah.
Did you not see that, Alden?
No,
Broken.
no.
What?
Holy cow, man! That is
I
a
live under a
crazy video. It's a crazy.
It was
They
it was
released
a fun
the.
political thing.
But the guy's a known male prostitute. He's been friends with the family for a long time.
Hmm.
Uh,
Everyone's got
known-
one of those friends though.
Yeah, known drug offenses, all that kind of stuff. And
Yeah,
it's 3 a.m. and you've got grown men in their 70s in their underwear. Fighting over drugs.
I heard about this. Okay. Yeah. yeah.
Robert has the best answer, by the way.
yeah, I was thinking maybe enough of her is fake that the bear just wouldn't be interested. So,
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. No, that's
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good
Botox poisoning. He can't make it through the rest of the attack.
point. All right. Let's get to our first actual thing, Mr. Dave Smith. Here we go.
Analogy, not mine. So shout out to the great Scott Horton.
The great.
He always says this, which is just when you really think about just how insane the income tax and the IRS are, especially in a progressive capitalist country. But he would go, imagine the Soviet Union invaded and conquered the United States of America. So we're a free country, and the Soviet Union invades and conquers us. We never had anything like the IRS before. And then they come in and they say, we are creating the USS IRS. It is now a crime to produce something. It's a crime to make money in this country. And the punishment for the crime is a fee. And the more you produce, the higher your fee goes. And we've repealed the Fifth Amendment. You no longer have a right to not incriminate yourself. You must incriminate yourself every single year to the government, who will then assess how much you've produced, and therefore what your punishment should be, how high your fee is. And if you lie when you're incriminating yourself, we will throw you in jail. And if we decide that you've miscalculated, we'll go back 20 years and just absolutely destroy you. Like, if that was the case, it would be so obvious to all of us what happened.
Bro.
We went, oh, we were conquered, and now we live under totalitarianism.
There was a
period. Yet our own government does it to us, and people are just kind of like, well, this is a government department.
Thought it was pretty relevant considering tax day is like next week. Yeah. So better start preparing your self-incrimination now and sending that in. But I like how he puts that, because what we've talked about on this show before is how it it just happens over time and people forget why they're doing it, 100 years down the line. And so the way he puts it, where it's a crime to make money, and in order to make money, you have to pay a fine, is a friggin' just great way to do it. I know that's Scott Horton's thing, but it's fantastic.
I may be an idiot, but I am just realizing how close it is to tax day.
Yeah. Somebody's filing an extension tomorrow morning.
Oh, damn it.
I need more time.
That is hilarious. I mean, I don't think we've. Never mind. I'm not going to incriminate myself on camera.
But yeah, I mean,
Fifth
isn't that
Amendment.
one of the central planks of communism too? You know, the graduated progressive income tax.
Yeah. Oh yeah, big time.
So I forget whether 10 planks, whatever, however many
I don't
there
know
are
how many
total.
planks there are.
We've done most of them. Like we're just
There's
one
only
or
so
two
much
away.
more you can go. Yeah.
Like the only two things separating us from an actual communist country right now are private property,
Yeah,
and firearms.
Yep. What would you? So if you were to approach a normie, somebody who is just fine paying taxes, has no problem with it, just does it every year, or has TurboTax do it because they're too lazy, like what would be the first sentence out of your mouth trying to get them to come to the don't like taxation is theft side?
What if you didn't have to do that?
I mean, that's
Like
that's
if
essentially
you
what I was
didn't have
thinking.
to, would you still?
Yeah,
I would frame
good one.
if everyone took the same amount of money and hired someone to do the things in your local community that you wanted done, how much more do you think would actually get done than giving it away to the government?
Yeah, that's a good one too. I like that.
This brings up another question, actually. Like, do you think if we're going to do taxes, let's just treat this as like an axiom of like there are taxes. How do you feel about like checking off little boxes of like you're like, I want my money to go toward this, that, or the other, but I don't want it to go to this, that, you know?
That I'm on. Like, if we have to get taxed, if that's like the first step in a progression to no longer having an income tax, I would absolutely take that, because then it's so obvious like what needs to be defunded and what needs to be funded.
And then the people would choose just with their money and with their vote in that way.
Yeah, which is how capitalism works in the first place. It's voting with your dollar.
It would be merging it with capitalism a shade, I guess. Yeah.
Guaranteed, we wouldn't give hundreds of thousands of dollars to see, you know, the mating habits of Galapagos turtles when Luther Vandross is playing.
Well, and there would be some people that would.
That's been in the budget.
No, Alden, pause.
No, yeah, go ahead.
Steven, you got to expound on that one because I don't know.
It's some of the radio shows I used to listen to, man. They would rattle off, you know, when one of these big pork spending bills would go through, some of the stuff that got earmarked. They would just rattle off some of these ridiculous things, you know, kind of like Rand Paul does for Festivus. And they would just rattle off all the stupid things that the federal budget just funded this year, you know, with a continuing resolution, because we haven't had an actual budget since Newt Gingrich. But yeah, that was one of the things that caught my attention was, you know, whether or not Galapagos turtles are more likely to mate when Luther Vandross is on the radio.
I love turtles.
I'd rather spend my money to that than Ukraine. So.
Right.
Hell yeah, man.
Super nerd moment. Galapagos tortoises.
Oh,
not turtles.
God. Alden. Okay.
Sorry.
Alden's in timeout.
Hey, I moved position. I got demoted.
I'll put you back.
I don't care.
Everybody go back to where you were. There we go. I like that I can do that now. I can just
That is
move
fun.
everything around. It's amazing.
You can
Actually,
put someone in the dunce corner. You
put
know,
me in the middle. Yeah, that feels better.
you're like
So is the only difference between a tortoise and a turtle? Turtle.
That's my favorite of all time. Oh my
Is
god!
it being aquatic or not? So are there giant,
Yes,
like Galapagos-sized aquatic turtles?
It's just flippers or the fins or whatever versus just
Well, I
quad
guess sea
feet.
turtles. Yeah, and they're pretty
Yeah,
big.
yeah.
Oh, that's
Okay.
the difference between a tortoise and a turtle? Is
That's
just
It's like
all
a
it
toad
is.
and a frog. Yeah.
So- interesting. Literally had no idea till just
Yeah.
Huh. Oh. Zach, Danielle has a new favorite tonight. Sorry, Alden, you've been
I have
dethroned.
been demoted officially. Oh, that makes me sad. We'll have to start.
The
what
night
was
is
it?
young.
Yeah, I was gonna say I find a way to spin it to 9/11 at some point every night. So we'll get. I'll have to win her back. That's all right.
Great. Well, I found this one interesting. It's a fantastic compilation from Wide Awake Media. This was trending on Twitter. #VaccineDeath.
This portion of CBS This Morning sponsored by
Oh, God.
Pfizer. CBS Health Watch sponsored by Pfizer. Anderson Cooper 360. Brought to you by Pfizer. ABC News Nightline. Brought to you by Pfizer. Making a difference. Brought to you by Pfizer. CNN Tonight. Brought to you by Pfizer. Early Start. Brought to you by Pfizer. Friday night on Aaron Burnett.
It's insane.
Brought to you by Pfizer. This Week with George Stephanopoulos is brought to you by Pfizer. Today's countdown to the royal wedding is brought to you by Pfizer.
Now it's CBS Sports Update brought to you by Pfizer.
Meet the Press data download brought to you by Pfizer. This portion of CBS This Morning sponsored by Pfizer.
On how to find the hidden sugars in the American family diet. Sponsored by Pfizer.
This portion of
God.
I mean, like part of it is terrifying because it's actual people collapsing.
Yeah.
But my gosh, like
It's a whole lot of coincidence happening, isn't it?
ooh,
Yeah.
could it
I
be
feel like
like
a soccer player can be excused because he probably got his arm brushed or something.
that's fair?
Yeah.
Yeah, flopping in soccer. I
Have
mean,
you seen the?
like how many people were collapsing on air before 2020? Like none. I would venture to guess. I've
don't
never
remember.
seen someone have their eyes roll into the back of their head and collapse onto.
I watched Hillary have a seizure during her presidential run.
That might be the closest.
because she was surrounded by a crowd. Someone put the mic in her face and she did the bobblehead thing.
Oh, I remember that. She started talking about, and then she started talking about coffee or some stupid thing because she couldn't
Yeah.
think of what she was saying. Like,
And then they just marched her
Remember that.
off. And she recovered from that. But yeah, it doesn't happen other than that.
And got thrown into a beef, or like got thrown into a van like a side of beef. I'd love that, but
your mix-ups tonight are perfect. I love it.
what?
So not to be like that guy, but like the video that we just saw, do any of us know, like, are all of them from the past couple years? Like,
Yes.
Every single one of those was from the past couple of years. Yeah, because
man.
I've seen all those clips of them falling like over the past.
And
year.
is it in? I'm sure, like the official story is it's not, but like, are they all kind of like?
What's the deal with locking your knees? Because I always heard like, don't do that. And then I used to be in
tried
choir, and some kid locked their knees and fell off the back of the bleachers and stuff. So
Yeah,
it
but
does
if
happen.
if you're in media, you know not to do that. Also, I
Yeah.
tried that at an outdoor wedding in Texas. I was a groomsman, and I just wanted to make a scene at the wedding, and I locked my knees, and nothing happened for 45 minutes. I sat there with my knees locked. It was.
Well, you're
Lock
also
your,
properly
like-
hydrated, I'm sure.
I've been terrified to do it. So
I think
my
the
knees
only
have been
thing.
bent for my whole life. Never gonna lock my knees just because they scared me so bad about that.
I think the only thing with those clips is like they probably overlapped the soundbite of the like brought to you by Pfizer too right in the moment. But like I think that's the only thing that was changed.
Yeah. That has to be.
Yeah.
that would be too poetic. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they overlap stuff because obviously Meet the Press isn't showing soccer clips. So like they put all the graphics, but those were the actual things. Pfizer sponsored everything for the past.
How is Pfizer like? Why is Pfizer even sponsoring news when we're supposed to be covering? Like journalism is just dead. I just don't understand that. I do feel like that's one of the things that should be separate from like corporations when you're supposed to be covering the same corporations. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but
Well, and as a libertarian, I don't really believe in market controls or capital controls or things like that. But
right,
as long as this system's in place, why are the pharmaceutical companies directly advertising to the consumer when
Yeah.
we need prescriptions to get this stuff?
what are we, one of two countries in the world that even allow that? Is it New Zealand and us, or I think it's New Zealand? Yeah.
Why
So
is
kids can't have cartoons selling them cigarettes, but
Right.
I need an allergy medicine that might increase my desire to gamble while I'm watching football.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, Meet the Press is sponsored by Boeing. It's like, is the average viewer going to buy a jet, or is it because they're paying them to, speak kindly of the military-industrial complex?
Thank you. That's a
support every
great.
war?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's a great point. Like,
Brought to you by the Skunk Works budget.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
That is the thing. That's one of those things that every person that's not, I would say the R word, but that's been a little spicy today. But I don't.
Oh yeah, I got you.
Does YouTube give you shit for saying retarded?
First 10 minutes, you're not supposed to cuss, I think.
We got it.
Yeah, I've
20
heard
minutes.
that.
20 minutes.
just-
We're all good.
I'm just saying, like that point you're making, like Boeing, like the advertisements we see. You bring that up to anybody, and everyone knows what that is, and it's just they just choose to just go like, yeah, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
I mean, what are you gonna do, really? But,
Well, and you could go look at, media, smaller media and things, but they're getting just an absolute stranglehold on any other alternative media too. So you can't have both ways, and yet they are,
Here's a good one. Robert says he was a medical researcher, and viewership increases people thinking they have the condition the drug treats.
That's what I was going to talk about. That I was just going to say. I was going to bring up some random thing.
Don't steal Robert's thunder.
No, I'm glad he said it. He's a medical researcher that has a lot more, gravity to it when he says it. But no, I was going to say the same thing of like it gets people thinking like, oh, I have ED or whatever, and it's like, no, you have whiskey dick or whatever. But like.
Yeah, you're just fat.
Well, and that's the other thing. It could be like what you're eating and your health, your activity.
Oh, it's definitely what you're eating.
Yeah, food and exercise and other things. And then it's like, well, instead, just take this drug and continue the lifestyle that you have. Yeah, I totally agree with Robert on that.
Well, I was watching it was like a game show type format, but it was a bunch of comedians getting together and they bring up, hot news topics and they come up with solutions. And of course, it's all comedic. But then they have an actual factual researcher come out and throw some facts out about it. They were talking about the opioid crisis, and then they were comparing, industrialized nations. So like, Japan, it was like less than 20% of men complain about pain. And yeah, exactly. And then, there were some Asian countries, and then I think it was Belarus or Russia, maybe. It was one of those. One of those like Soviet bloc countries, real masculine type stuff. They don't complain about pain. But then you got the United States, they lead the way. It's like 34% of our men complain about pain. That's why we consume most of the opioids, because the doctors are like, oh, well, I got to fix this. Because it's normalized in our culture to talk about being in pain. And then I wonder, right behind us on the global scale is the UK and Australia. And
all the English speaking.
Yeah, well, it's the cultures that have normalized weakness, I guess, or admitting to it.
And this feels like a circle, and there's different points on it, and the advertising is probably a point on the same cultural circle.
Right.
Yeah. We should address something.
What's a Will Bell?
We actually never talked about this at the beginning. So Cynthia McKinney will not be joining us tonight, sadly. And Will Bell is some random hick from the middle of nowhere, Georgia. I think.
He's Liberty Bell's distant cousin.
Yeah, exactly.
Liberty Bell.
So which one of us isn't a random hick?
He also has one crack. So
good.
Where does she live, by the way? Where is it 5:30 a.m. now? Like,
let's dox her real quick.
She's teaching in Bangladesh.
Oh.
So,
okay.
But we agreed on, well, she threw out the day. She's like, how about April 7th, which is tomorrow for us, but it's already there for her.
Oh,
like,
gotcha.
Yeah, that worked
Yeah.
great. And then I never heard from her again. And, we ran with it, but.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
So anybody who logged on here looking for Cynthia,
we're all poor substitutes. Yeah.
Yep. We thought about doing some. Never mind. Forget it.
No, we'll leave that one.
All right. On to my favorite topic to talk about, economics. Why is this not on the screen? There we go. My favorite guy to listen to talk about economics is Peter St. Onge right now. He's killing it all the time. Here he does little 3-minute clips of him talking about different specific topics. So here he is talking about the 600,000 job openings.
Hey guys, new U.S. jobs numbers dropped yesterday, showing a 600,000 drop in job openings over the month. That's 1.2 million fewer job openings in the past 2 months. Now this combines with plunging consumer spending, mountains of unsold goods, cratering loans as banks teeter on the edge, and layoffs run wild. One survey said 74% of CEOs are implementing hiring freezes or layoffs. So, after a year of Wall Street navel-gazing about hypothetical recessions, the data is speaking. Actually, the data is screaming. This was never a surprise. Every school of economics, even the Keynesian cult of inflation, knows that hiking interest rates at Jerome Powell's reckless pace crashes an economy. It does this because it raises lending costs to companies, driving bankruptcies and feeding through to spending. So it's a good time to ask, what broke the economy anyway? Easy. The federal government took advantage of a crisis. That it moved heaven and earth, well, it broke heaven and earth to keep taking more. Uncle Sugar and his in-house money printers at the Fed sent inflation soaring with $7 trillion in deficit spending since COVID started. Most of it obediently converted to inflation by the Fed. This money printing was on a truly epic scale. In just 2 years, they printed nearly $1 in $4 in existence. For those keeping score at home, that's twice the pace of the 1970s Great Inflation. You'd have to go back to World War II, maybe the Civil War, to get close. So a fast $7 trillion later, and right on cue, inflation took off. It passed the 4% mark in April of 21 and ultimately hit almost 9%, actually closer to 11% if you count the intentionally deceptive way they count rent, and closer to 20% going by eyewitness accounts in actual grocery stores. The geniuses at Treasury and the Fed naturally dismissed the inflation as transitory, because their models pretend they have nothing to do with the inflation they cause. Instead, they blamed COVID, China, e-commerce, big grocery, exercise bikes, of course, global warming, and Vladimir Putin. In early 22, the Fed finally got around to accepting not responsibility, but at least reality, at which point they had a choice: either fix the government spending or crush the private economy, crush jobs, to make room for government to keep spending. Of course, that would have meant a difficult conversation with Jerome Powell's political bosses, so he naturally opted to spare them and kick the people instead. You can actually find a clip from last Wednesday of a reporter asking Powell if federal spending is part of the problem, and Powell gets agitated, like he just asked him to insult his wife, going, "We don't give advice, we take spending as it comes, we stick it in our models, along with a million other things," he said. Those million other things are you. So we come to the final piece of the inflation recession cycle. Jobs are breaking, spending is breaking, investment is breaking, and there's a long ways to go. We don't know how bad it will be. It depends how much the government stays out of the way. But we do know there are no free lunches. The bill is coming due, and it's going to be we the livestock, workers, families, small businesses who pay it. All right, we'll be watching. See you next time.
I was wondering what Kevin Spacey was up to these days. He looks and sounds like him. That's crazy.
He does kind of, yeah. Yeah, I hope that's not Kevin Spacey. Otherwise, this will be a very
Good old
suspect.
President Underwood coming with the financial report.
Yeah, I'm going to keep on bringing up the whole collapse of what I think. I think the dollar's collapsing, personally.
Do you think intentionally?
I don't know if intentionally. I don't think people. Well, I don't know. I don't know if people are out there saying we want to collapse the dollar. What I think is people are out there thinking about themselves and thinking, how can I take advantage of the current situation and profit for myself and my family and friends rather than everybody else in the world.
Well, I mean, the national debt's what, like $31 trillion. There's only so many ways to get out of it, and one of them is to inflate your way out. So that could be intentional because inflation would make their debt cheaper.
Yeah.
But,
well, and Grandma Yellen did just testify before Congress last couple of weeks that, there's $4 trillion something in new taxes in Biden's economic plan.
Yep.
But it reduces the deficit.
It does.
Is that even a trillion, or are we on to a gazillion? I don't know.
Right.
Like, these numbers mean nothing to me. It's just imaginary at this point.
Well, and this is a lot of this is money we owe ourselves as well. So, I mean, you take out that fluff, because that was one of the things Iceland went through. And what was it, like 2010, when they had their overthrow, their revolution, and they told the Rothschilds and the IMF, we're paying back a fraction of that, and you're going to deal with it. And they were like, okay. And yeah, it turned out to be, it was something like 25% what they actually owed.
Yep. Yeah. And so I'm going to keep bringing this up every single time we have a podcast. I'm doing a whole free Georgia podcast on the dollar and on what's probably going to happen and what has already happened to put us in the position where we are.
How long were y'all libertarians before you started like really doing the deep dive into economics?
That's what got me into being a libertarian.
Yeah, me too. That's
I read Creature from Jekyll Island, and that was it. Like
Okay.
I was in.
For me, it was
Trying to measure how much time you have left before you had to learn something.
Yeah.
Is that about the forming of the
Uh,
Fed or whatever, the Jekyll
Yeah.
Island thing? Yeah.
Yeah. It's the
Yeah,
best
G.
book I've
Edward
ever
Griffin,
read,
wasn't it?
man. Yep. And and then I was always kind of against war, and that just kind of came naturally. So it, I don't know. I figured out all the other libertarian principles along the way, but most of them stem from the basic principles of economics anyway. So it was not that big of a leap to get from Creature from Jekyll Island to where I am today.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you. I asked kind of just because there's like I was a little bit like this. My first decade of libertarianism, I guess, is just kind of like wanting to ignore the Fed question. Just, like Ron Paul was what got me in, but it wasn't because he was talking about the Federal Reserve. It was because he was like, oh, this is a Republican that is down with guns and drugs. So I was like, oh, hell yeah. So there is a big contention of like libertarians that just don't even want to pay attention to the Federal Reserve question. Sometimes they ignore the foreign policy thing too, but I don't know. It's not like I'm mad at some of them. I just kind of like, oh, how do we get some of our libertarians that aren't wanting to take that jump, or like really just like reading the Creature from Jekyll Island or Ron Paul's In the Fed or any of this literature, or really just coming up with solutions of their own? Because these guys kind of seem to just be like, I don't know, pot might be legal soon, so that's a libertarian victory. I want us to push for. I'm just saying, like,
right. And
if you're down with the foreign policy, libertarian foreign policy, then the Fed is the way they pay for that.
Yeah.
If we had honest money like gold or Bitcoin or something like that, they wouldn't be able to afford these wars.
That's exactly it. Yeah, exactly. And like I understand what you're saying, Will, and I do think some people, not everybody has to be focused on the same thing, but there are definitely some people who completely ignore the Fed, and I think the Fed is probably the main cause of 80% of the things that libertarians care about. And so like not caring at all about the Fed is definitely a problem. Like you should act like if you're a libertarian, you have to be caring about the Fed at least a little bit.
At least by proxy, it concerns a lot of things. It's like the man behind the curtain kind of problem. Like, yeah.
And it's not easy. It's not like I learn more about it all the time. It's not the easiest one to pick up and run with.
No, it's definitely, intimidating. And like, it's a big, giant cluster monster. Like yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, honestly, it took me a while to even start to quote care, because it was just like a lot to get into. And
well, that's how people feel about politics in general.
That's
like,
true.
What can I do? Like, how do I get involved? Like, how do I change things? And it takes decades to change things. Like, it's not just a quick solution for anything. And like, learning is a lifelong process. So like, you got to start somewhere. So start with something small. Read a little Murray Rothbard, 10-page thing on economics. Like
with what Will's talking about, though, it's kind of like a strength and a weakness at the same time, or it's something that I can admire about someone, is that we're not in the like one half or the other, like all caught up and we all have the same like talking points and we're all like whipped up and, propagandized into the same like hive mind BS. We might not all align the same way, but there's a strength in that, and at least we're all like kind of independent thinkers, and more so I would say than like the main two parties. And I have a hard time talking to like my family, who are like more like hardcore. They're more on the left side, and I'm just like, what do you man, I don't want to be too mean, but I feel like it's just regurgitating a lot of what you hear on the news kind of stuff. And at least I don't get that talking to a lot of libertarians. You might get a lot of different answers because they're into some different stuff, but in a way I like that better, at least. But it poses its own problems too.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. New to the libertarian conversation, which side does their agenda fall closer to, and why?
As opposed to left and right? Which side?
Well, that's probably what they're saying, but
I would say that depends.
I'd say it's more on the authoritarian libertarian axis. Yeah. And you can be left, like Will says he's more of a left libertarian sometimes.
Mhm.
And then we have
Yeah.
people who are more right libertarian. But I think the thing we have in common is that we're anti-authoritarian.
Yeah.
I think it, like the Fed picks and chooses when it's on what side, and it basically just uses one side or the other for its own gains. Like I don't think it falls on a specific side. It controls so much stuff that
The Fed's on the side of the wealthy, man.
yes, exactly.
You can be
Well,
wealthy
and
blue
what was
and
really
wealthy
concerning,
red.
if you listen to Jerome Powell's speech, like the second time they raised interest rates last year, he was talking about we just have to let a little steam out of the real estate market. It's been so red hot for so long.
Right.
We got to let some air out of it without deflating it too far. And I'm like, okay, so if you're a realtor right now, the guy that controls our money policy hates you. If your money comes from real estate, he just said you're about to get hosed hard.
Yeah, intentionally.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
that's
and
the insane. Like, do these people not like? How do people not understand when they hear those words that the whole thing is a big manipulation?
Yeah.
Like,
and the people that get hurt are the average people,
Yes.
not the people making these huge deals back and forth,
Well,
absolutely.
and one thing I've learned from following crypto, so anytime a big banker, like Warren Buffett, of course he's not a banker, but Jamie Dimon, for instance, Chase Bank, and Warren Buffett too, when they get on TV talking about, Bitcoin is rat poison, crypto is crap, get away from it, it's awful. The next day, for almost a week, whether it's Warren Buffett or Chase Bank or whatever institution, they are the largest institutional buyer of Bitcoin for that next week because they have enough weight that when they say something on national television, people run away from it. If they say this sucks, stay away from it, they run away from it, and then they come in and pick up the pieces. That's what we're doing right now with the Fed. They're raising the interest rates, so investment's slowing down. People are selling their real estate to pay their taxes because I don't know about you guys, but everybody's property taxes just went through the freaking roof. For what?
Merging what you're saying with what Grumpy Gnome was just saying, when you have enough power to change the market based on your decision to like buy or sell or whatever, that feels like a rigging the game kind of thing, like BlackRock and Vanguard and whoever else.
So like when the stock market goes down, like that money didn't just disappear when they're like,
no,
$2
money
trillion
goes somewhere.
disappeared from the stock market today.
Yeah.
No, it didn't.
No,
it went in someone's bank account.
Yes. I had this conversation with my sister and she's like, oh, well, in COVID, like no one benefited. All the money, just, everyone's losing money. I'm like, no, money goes a direction. Not everyone just doesn't lose money. I was like, honestly, oh man, it's one of the few real arguments I gotten with my sister over in the past like decade was about money has to go to a place like it, unless we're talking about inflation in general or whatever. But even then, I heard some people more than others. But
yeah, and the money doesn't actually go anywhere. Like the money's still there.
Well,
it's worth less.
Yeah.
So
exactly,
if you want to look at the validity to the Agenda 21 or the 2030 resolution or whatever, this kind of coincides with what we just talked about, what the Fed was doing. He's saying, oh, we're trying to let a little steam out of the real estate market. We're trying to let a little steam out of the investment market. But what they're doing is the government will then step in and consolidate because if they can starve you off of a post, say you're holding this asset, they can starve you off of it, then they can come in and buy it for a fraction of the cost, and then they control it, and then subsequently raise taxes. So now all of a sudden you get this, affordable housing that everybody's going to have because our paychecks aren't worth a crap anymore, and then they can force us into their affordable housing or whatever, and you're going to see metropolitan areas grow because people are going to go back to the city because they need these live work play centers. I want my 15-minute radius, that whole thing, so they can stretch their paycheck.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The taxing is like its own form of inflation in that way.
Oh yeah. On
property tax and things, but
we've got
perceived anyway.
We've got a request to talk about the Trump indictment. I mean, not an actual request, but
yeah.
What did y'all think of that? Hilarity.
Well, the indictment was apparently the same paragraph 34 times with like ad-libbed different, ledger entries in there. But it's like there was no information. It's just the same thing 34 times with 34 different payments that Trump made. So that's all the information I guess we have now, but it seems really weak. I think he'll probably come out looking better than ever. But who knows?
Stormy Daniels needs to be brought up on extortion charges.
Yep.
The Manhattan DA leaked grand jury testimonies to the media, like before the arraignment. That is a legit felony, provable. I mean, obviously it happened.
Yep.
So let's see some movement on that. Otherwise, this whole case is total crap, which, I mean, we knew that anyways.
Can we make this a hashtag? MPPN? Like,
Can do.
That sounds pretty good. Can we just prosecute all of them?
Well, what was it? Somebody in the Manhattan DA worked for the Justice Department under Biden previously, too. It really seems like, no surprise, but they're behind it. And it was just, it's a ploy to make sure that Trump can't run again.
Biden said it on air the other day. He
Well, yeah, they
literally
say
said,
they were going to blow up
do
the Nord
whatever we
Stream
can.
pipeline, too, and then they deny it. So,
Yeah, I mean, Biden literally said we're going to do whatever it takes to keep him from running again.
Well, hey, kids get murdered in a school and everything. Let's talk about the chocolate chip ice cream he's got in his freezer right now.
Right.
It's just
That is brutal.
part of this is to demoralize us. He's not calling the shots. Obviously, Trump never called the shots. I don't think Obama called all the shots. He certainly called some of them.
I think Bush definitely called all the shots. For sure.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Are you talking about the Dick Cheney Bush situation? Is that what you're saying? Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly don't really follow. I didn't follow the indictment very much. I got a little bit of info and that was it.
I haven't spoken really about it yet because I also haven't been following it kind of the same way that I haven't followed like what was the whole Johnny Depp that, it's just, I don't know. I'll wait till the dust settles and I'll kind of read the cliff notes, but it's like most of the time I think I see through it and I see the agenda of it and I see the pageantry and the theater of it, but it's.
well, a good way to follow it is to watch
That's
Judge
funny.
Napolitano, because he's talking about it and he puts it in like libertarian terms and language we can understand. So look up his channel.
Have y'all seen those pictures of Biden's ears? Have you seen this recently?
Yeah, so the theory that there's stunt doubles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So supposedly he has two of them. All presidents have at least one. But supposedly he's got two that he parades around regularly.
Yeah,
and you
but
can tell.
speaks like they both like this. One has the earlobes, and then one
Is
has
this
the attached.
Connected and disconnected. Yeah.
But
It's just like the whole
both-
mask theory
both
thing.
versions have spoken at events. So how do they do that? Like, your ear doesn't just magically get reconnected and
This is
disconnected
like-
all the time. Like
This
what
is
the
like
heck?
Mission Impossible 2, the whole mask thing or whatever.
Yeah.
Which we could talk about is in terms of like the CIA like pre-programming concepts into culture or whatever too. But so I'm not even saying it's not a thing, honestly. Like
I think it's full on face-off surgery.
You think so?
Not really, but I just want to go harder than Alden. So
how much of this is confirmed with the Joe Biden stunt doubles and shit, or is it just pictures of his earlobe and shit? I have not heard any of
I mean,
this.
I do know that
educate me.
most presidents do have like doubles of some sort, but never ones that actually like speak. But like, I don't know, man. I've seen about 20 pictures now where Biden's ears are different in like every single one.
Yeah, and one of them doesn't have eyebrows. So
didn't see that one.
Yeah, I've seen one that just slick eyebrows. It's wild.
Yep. I was about to say that. This sounds like lizard people shit.
Yeah, there we go.
well, when Zelensky came to DC, his bodyguard looked exactly like him. I feel like that's not a coincidence, or maybe all Ukrainians look the same. I don't know, but
Can you imagine being Gaddafi's body double right now and like trying to do anything?
this is, I mean,
Let's see. If he gets exonerated, then he is front runner for the Republican Party. If he comes out the other end, then he overtakes DeSantis. How does that affect the libertarian agenda? I mean, it doesn't affect our agenda at all. We're just still trying to grow and change people's minds. So
it's taking center stage away from the libertarian agenda in a sense. Like
everyone always takes the center stage.
Yeah.
That's
Like,
Yeah.
Nothing
we just
changes.
take things as they come.
Yeah.
He's adopted libertarian talking points. Obviously, just to gain, from what I could tell, just to gain power because he didn't act on any of them.
Yeah. Because this time he said he'd abolish the income tax.
Oh, really?
That's going to be one of his
on the federal level.
Yep, federal level. And
I mean, I would hope he'd be pissed enough just to burn everything down.
I would hope so, but he's going to do the same thing he did last time, which is try to help himself and all that good stuff. So, yeah, I don't know if it would be really difficult for me to not vote for Trump if he promised to abolish the income tax. But they all
presidents, campaign. They promise a lot of things anyway. But.
Also, do they even have the power to do that?
I don't know.
Let's just talk about something realistic. What if he just runs on ending the Ukrainian war? I mean, it would be hard not to vote for him for that.
Right.
I mean, the level of money and risk of nuclear winter that we are fucking with over there is it's ridiculous. It makes all of our arguments against Israel, funding Israel with the American tax dollar, it just blows that out the water. I don't know
if you saw last week, Will, we were talking about the depleted uranium rounds and the cluster bombs we're sending over there. Or apparently we have been sending depleted uranium over there. But the 4 key Republican chairmen of committees in the U.S. House want to send cluster bombs over there, which is 90-something countries have said that is an absolute war crime to even have these things. So not only would we be admitting that on a global scale, but we've continued to make them, and we're giving them to one of the most corrupt governments on the planet.
I genuinely believe, and this was the reason I joined the Libertarian Party, is that we have to be the one party that stands against the war machine. And that is, if there's any weeding that I want to do from the party, it is people that make apologies for this kind of stuff or don't attack it. And we've had presidential candidates in the past that are just, they are not about it.
And we've seen the 2-party system is both sides, like a pendulum, can be for war depending on the situation. So
this is an avenue right down the problem of America that we need to be the forefront of.
Mm-hmm.
And, we tried to have that anti-war rally back a couple months now, and half the party was, calling us Russian assets and stuff. It's
they were
the Libertarian Party.
They were upset they were going to talk to Cynthia McKinney.
Exactly.
That she was going to play a video but now we're upset that we're not talking to her. So
who was upset at us for trying to? Why? Because she's like Green Party or something, or
people in the.
I mean, she said some boomer stuff before, so
who hasn't?
I was just going to say this.
Who cares?
Yeah, who hasn't? Yeah,
when
I'll
people
put my foot in my mouth.
her, they'll slander her as an anti-Semite, but it's just because she's working with free Gaza projects.
Yeah.
I really wanted to talk to her about today was just the time she was trying to use ships to go past
where she got detained by the Israeli military and
7 days in an Israeli prison. She had her boat rammed by the IDF.
Yeah,
crazy.
Yeah, that would have been fun to talk about, but
well,
I mean,
see if I can get her back another time.
We forgive you for not showing up.
Should we?
Very base.
So what Will was touching on too, and that kind of answers Chris's question earlier. What separates us, with our agenda from other parties is the linchpin of our belief system is the non-aggression principle.
Mm-hmm.
We do not, good ideas do not require force, and then not only that, but I'm not ordained to act with force to impose my good idea either.
Yes.
So, the evangelical conservatives, feel like God told them to kill everyone else that's not a Christian or something like that. That's not, you got no right to initiate force against somebody.
That's actually a pretty good analogy or whatever, the like a crusade type of analogy of the thou shalt not kill unless it's, what we think we interpret God wants or whatever,
Right.
Well, the commandment's actually thou shalt not murder. So again,
I heard this interpretation actually as going back through specifically. That's interesting.
Yeah, because if you were fired upon, then stack bodies.
Mm-hmm.
Like
I did hear that. Go ahead.
Was it Joshua? He was a military guy who went around fighting battles, and that's why he was known. And they celebrate the battles that he was in the Bible. So it's I think it's definitely more like murder. Although war seems like murder to me. So I don't know that Joshua was always correct, but
Yeah.
War,
final thought.
killing with orders. Maybe that's its own sort of like loophole, you know?
Yeah, and no one's ever correct,
Kidding.
forever. Everybody makes mistakes, and Joshua may have been justified in some of his stuff and unjustified in others, just like everyone else on Earth.
Yeah, I like it when he fought the battle with trumpets instead of guns.
That was a good one.
That.
Yeah, let's try that
Yep.
more often. You know who's pushing hard against war and calling people out is Mr. Justin O'Donnell. This is a great clip. Enjoy.
In the depths of hell, because for some reason you have a very bad obsession of getting us into war. Hey, why is it that you did not admit that there were no WMDs in Iraq? You lied us into a war in Iraq. You got us into an invasion of Afghanistan. Now over 90% of those people are impoverished and are dying. God should tell the truth about Nord Stream.
Why are those idiots wearing masks?
This is a democratic gathering. That's not over yet.
Hey, Congresswoman! I came to see a warmonger, but you're a
There's Jose.
What happened? When you went to Taiwan, were you looking for Ukraine? Did we blow up the Nord Stream on accident or on purpose? Did you know about that? Aren't you supposed to be part of the indictment tomorrow? You're a war criminal by definition, Miss Pelosi. You got some nerve. Is that why you're here in Manhattan? Is that why you're here? Because you're getting indicted tomorrow, you goddamn war criminal? How many people have died in your fucking name? How many people have died because of Iraq? All of you forgot about Iraq? Iran, Libya, Syria.
And Democrats are just embarrassing now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Booing them. It's
I mean, not one single person in that room like agreed with them or like stood up and like did anything. They called him an idiot. It's
and I know we just talked about not being aggressive or being nonviolent and that kind of stuff, but that level of discourse certainly has a place in our politics today. Because you look at what's Japan's parliament? They call it like the Diet or something like that. It's like freaking WrestleMania in there. I mean, they're throwing chairs and shoes and stuff.
Oh, I've seen some footage of that before.
prefer that.
Yeah, I want some
Japan?
passion up in there, man.
Yeah,
I want it to be like the Indian Congress where they're just beating the shit out of each other.
with like shoes or something. Or
Well, I know Massey just got barked at pretty hard by somebody.
Yeah.
About the whole gun thing. You're not looking at the stats. You're not reading the data. And Massey's just like, well, if you would like to, I've got it right here. You want to read it? And the guy's just in his face barking at him.
We are not hearing feedback, Will.
I hear a crackle once in a while. I don't know who it's coming from, but it's not bad.
Okay.
I have a question for Will though. Are
Hit
you
me,
getting
brother.
high on your own supply?
A little bit.
Yeah. Good on you, man.
Well, Stephen, like I don't have a problem with stuff like this. Like there's no aggression here. Like they're being bold and dramatic and like doing it in a, I don't know, calling people out while they're supposed to be doing some civilized talk. And like it's literally a war criminal on stage. I have no problem with screaming out from the audience and just ruining the entire event. Like
that is the venue for that type of action.
Yes, exactly.
That is the proper venue.
Perfect.
They are in a public forum. There's plenty of witnesses all around.
Yep.
Now going to their house in the middle of the night like they did to Mitch McConnell. As much as I don't like the guy, that is not how you conduct business.
No.
Yeah, I agree.
Torches and pitchforks in the driveway at 2 a.m. when he's already having health issues.
Yeah.
That's no.
Yeah, no.
An actual literal mob. Like, no.
I gotta check on my dogs real quick. Y'all keep chatting. Sorry.
All right. Do we want to bring up the wheel from last week and spin that? And
I mean, I'm
always.
I'm
We
down
need
for
Jake
that.
for that, I think, too. But
That's true. Yeah.
Jake is the glue that holds us together. We can't flounder right now. We got to prove to him.
Prove to him
That's
we
right.
can do it, fellas. All right. Favorite libertarian drama going on lately? Y'all hit me.
It's always you. Whatever you're involved with, yeah.
No, bro.
I don't even know any libertarian drama right now. What's going on? Like,
I don't know.
I don't know.
No, I guess we've had like kind of New Hampshire and Mises have been fighting, but that kind of resolved it, so it kind of petered out. I think.
Yeah, are we splitting into caucuses again? Like what?
Yeah, it's gonna start splitting up.
That's so
We're gonna
silly.
have the Mises caucus.
Yeah.
Like,
I just want a shit poster caucus. I just want to not be the pragmatists. I'm more anti classical liberal than I am pro Mises.
Okay, so what do we need to actually contend?
Is it true about the winning 5% to get
even presence on the debate stage?
Yeah.
Yes.
Technically, it's true, but I have a feeling they'd find some reason to not let us on.
Right. Yeah.
And they change it for Gary Johnson.
Yes.
Did he win 5%?
He was polling well into double digits.
Yeah.
And
so that makes sense. So it would be polling 5% or more to get the debate before the vote then.
Yeah.
But then the problem is most of the time the polls don't include libertarians. So it's like you have to win X percent in a poll you're not in.
Well, that seems problematic.
And it's all very subjective too, like which polls they choose. They're just like, we used these 10.
Right. Yeah.
And how are they conducting the polls too? Is it calling landlines where you're probably going to get an older, population?
Right. Yeah. That's fair.
Because with Gary Johnson, if they were looking at Rasmussen or Zogby, he would have been in. No problem. But they were looking at, like local community colleges, that surveyed 40 students on campus, stuff like that. And they were like, they've never even heard of the guy.
And they went to the Young Republicans Club or something.
Right.
Yeah. I'm kidding, but who knows?
What's
the answer to Chris's question, or one of the answers possibly?
Presence on the debate stage. I think if you get an actual, well-spoken libertarian on the debate stage, in any race, at any level, they will eviscerate the competition.
I agree. I think presenting as an equal that has a chance, that is even being seen and heard and taken seriously, is a big step. Yeah, that's why I asked about the whole 5%
I think we
thing.
probably need to give up on trying to get into the debates. Or not give up, but not prioritize it so much, because it's not going to happen. They're not going to let us in. We need to use every other avenue we have and stop begging to be in the debates.
That's a good point that Danielle has in terms of starting more locally and then build there and then make more.
Well, and that was the stated purpose of Angela McCardle running the Mises Caucus. If you heard her go on, oh gosh, what was it, Tim Pool right after that, the whole takeover?
It was Tim Pool.
That was the initiative. Was we're gonna look at local things, sheriffs, school boards. Zoning departments, for God's sakes, stuff like that actually influences things on a local level.
I would love to see more libertarians at the local levels,
I agree.
Or governor.
I think right now we're at the stage where governor, president, things like that have to be a messaging campaign. And it's unfortunate. I wish we could win, but we can't. So we need people like, Shane did a really good job getting in the debates, luckily, because they have the tradition of inviting us. And just using that platform to spread the message and to get people excited and to send people our way. And
speaking
of same with the presidential, we need somebody who's a really good communicator and really good mass communicator.
Yeah.
Well, I was impressed with Chase doing his mass media tour.
Oh, yeah, he's great on TV, and he gets on there. It's
he does.
He's just rattling the bullet points off. He and Shane are the best two I've heard about that since Austin Peterson.
I followed Chase during his congressional run, where he was running for John Lewis's seat after he died. And I swear to goodness, there were a few questions I knew they had planned as gotcha questions for him. Because they would be like, in the Voting Rights Act, Section 12, Paragraph B, blah, 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 what does that mean? And he would give them a legitimate answer. And I'm like, it blew my mind that he knew it. But he always knew it. They never stumped him. He's very good at just knowing the libertarian line, and you ask him, he'll give it.
Well, and one thing I remember Austin Peterson was good at too. They'd ask him some questions. I think this was, John Stossel. So this was like the Fox business debates. But he'd ask him a question about, well, when you're president, are you going to do this, this, and this? And he's like, well, that's not my job. So I'm not going to do any of that. It's like, that is not in my powers. I don't have the power to address any of those issues.
So we're
You
not
guys are
going to
gonna have
waste
fix that
breath
yourself.
talking about it. Yeah.
And that was the first time I could recall hearing a candidate say any of that. Because they always promise everything. Oh, I'm going to fix this. I'm going to fix all your problems.
Yeah, sometimes it sounds like we're running for school president or something ridiculous, like chicken nuggets every day, and you're like, okay, whatever.
Got my vote.
Everyone gets a pony.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
What people are saying in the chat right now about like ground up and, getting at the most basic level and then moving up from there, hopefully, that is what LP George is trying to do right now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, it sounds like we actually need to start at even below the bottom. Like, it's hard for us to even get, win a county council or city council seat. So people really need to become like known in their community and like get on boards, whether like your local theater or whatever.
Go drink at bars, local bars. That's where it's
we'll
real
do Liberty
grassroots.
Libations live.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll each just be in a different bar across America.
Yes.
Podcasting. That'd be so stupid.
Repping.
But there's so many, professional level people or even, government level people, current government employees that are so scared to mix their personal beliefs with what they do. And it's time to walk the tightrope, folks. Come out of the closet and just say, hey, what if we just left these people alone? The radical common sense ideas that founded this country. Maybe the government shouldn't be doing all this stuff. It's getting really hard for people to afford their property taxes nowadays. Maybe we should back off of this stuff a little bit. Think about which services we don't need to provide. Mm-hmm. And, if you had, your local doctor, your local attorney, somebody on the board of commissioners, maybe not the county commissioner himself, but, somebody like if we just, start getting those small victories there, they don't even have to come out as overtly libertarian, but just injecting liberty ideas to shift the Overton window. Because that's the big thing right now is just people's view, people's angle of perception doesn't even account for the liberty angle anymore.
Yeah. And another thing that our executive director has been pushing is just to be like I hate the word citizen, but there's not really another way for it, but like be an active citizen where like you show up and they see you there and they know what you're all about and know that they can't like pull crap while you're there. So part of that's going to like city council meetings or whatever, but we're also exploring ways to like, use like AI or whatever to summarize the meetings and then just publish it, which that'll be coming out soon from us, like ways to do that. Like we're going to, we have bots that can listen to their meetings, summarize it, and then we can just publish the cliff notes for people so that the average everyday citizen, again, I hate that word,
that's
but they
genius.
can see what went on, and people, they can't pull stuff knowing that only 3 people are going to show up at Wednesday, 10 a.m.
That's so brilliant because good Lord, city council meetings are so boring. I've gone to the Dunwoody one a few times, and my gosh, like they're like 3 hours long every other week. And
I will never do it. I will never sit through a city council. I will never run for any of these offices, or just the idea of sitting through meetings, unnecessary meetings. It kills my soul. Zach, hit me with that fucking Cliff Note algorithm. That's all I want. That's all I want. And then and like a link to where I can call and slightly complain to my senator in under 5 minutes.
But your local zoning board, they tell you how close you can build your sheds to the property line,
how
things like that.
Can be.
That behooves you to sit in on these things.
Yeah,
we know it behooves us, Stephen.
I don't live.
No one's debating that. It's just terrible to sit through it. I went to one with Shane where he was actually going to speak, and I almost fell asleep.
Yeah, the first one I did like the prototype for the AI summary. Like the summary came out of the first hour, they honored some football coach. The second hour, they gave away a lot of money. So that one was probably an important hour. And the third hour, they went into executive session, which means we can't know what they talked about.
Oh, the closed door meetings. Yeah.
That was in Douglas County.
Yeah.
If you picture a bunch of people in your like community just getting together and being like, all right, let's just talk about what needs doing. Like if you picture that and then you compare it to what actually happens, the gap between it is the problem. That's where we've gone wrong. Like the process of it is so boring, and it gets people that are probably pretty sensible people really far from it because it sucks. Like I think some of the more competent, interesting, charismatic, and intelligent people stay the goddamn hell away from politics because it's a waste of time. It's boring as hell. Like, and it's by design. I think it's like why we need to pay lawyers to do everything is because everything's written in fucking legalese and.
Yep.
I don't know. At least for 10 minutes in, I'm on a rant. I'm sorry.
And if you truly got the gift to navigate the whole machine, you're going to stay outside of it and become rich enough to just pay them off and stay out of your way, anyways.
Exactly, though. Yeah.
Yeah, and
that makes it.
I go like once a month. I'm done with politics. I'm just going to leave the Libertarian Party. I'm just going to quit everything. I don't want to hear the word politics ever again in my life. Just move to the woods, and then 2 weeks after that. I'll see something on Twitter where I'm like, dadgummit, I got to get involved again.
Yeah.
So like, it's just a frustrating cycle. Like I completely understand wanting to like have nothing to do with any of it. Don't go to city council meetings. Don't like, I completely understand that. But I also know that I probably will run for office at some point.
I'll vote for
somewhere. I mean, it'll be a local office in Montana.
Well, then I don't live in Montana, so I won't be able to vote for you, but don't take it personally.
Yeah. Fair.
I even have a fundamental personal issue that I have found, like, and one of the reasons why I gravitate more to libertarian ism. I have always been like a live and let live kind of person, and I never want to tell anyone what to do. I don't want to tell anyone, I get in arguments with people sometimes, in debates about like concepts and theories, but I'm not going to tell them how to vote or whatever. And so a lot of libertarians are like that, where they're like live and let live, Mm-hmm. And when you have two sides that are very like trying to kind of like, it's almost like I feel like it's Jehovah's Witness of politics, where they're like going door to door and they'll be like, vote for who? And a lot of libertarians are like, I'm not going to fucking tell you what to do. You do you. And like, you don't get a lot of groundswell when everyone fundamentally is like, you do you. I don't know. I'm not going to tell you what to do. Like, even though I really respect that, like it's a fundamental sort of a dilemma. Anyway.
Yeah. Elizabeth puts it perfectly. We'll never just have freedom. You always have to struggle for it. Yeah. Life's just one big struggle. So sit back and enjoy. Anything worth doing. It's like how much work went into that wine, Will, but would it taste as good if it weren't the work,
Absolutely, man. I like that line of thinking.
Yeah. I mean, that's why Steven's drunk all the time.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's right. You make your own beer over there too. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, really, man?
Yes, sir.
Like hobby level?
Hobby level, semi-pro.
Semi-pro. Yeah.
Have the LLC. Don't have all the trademarks. Don't have commercial space yet.
Dude, that's awesome.
We're guild members and everything.
I mean, like I'm slowly like my family grew out from just hobby making it and family recipes to building a business. And one step at a time, dude. And
absolutely.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
What are you going to call your beer?
Well, that's why we don't have the trademark yet. So
we want to get. Gotcha, brother.
Yeah.
Definitely going to steal it if you tell me. So.
Oh yeah.
Well,
we can name each beer, each style after a conspiracy theory.
I do like that. I do like that a lot.
Yeah.
Well, let's go back to war for a bit because I've got like 4 tabs pulled up that's all about war.
Let's have a war.
Let's do it. So here we go.
NATO's position is that Ukraine will become a member of the alliance, and that position has not changed. But we know that there are at least 2 things we need to address to make that possible. One is that we need to ensure that Ukraine prevails as a sovereign, independent nation. Of course, any meaningful discussion about Ukraine as a member of the alliance has to be based on that Ukraine is a democratic, independent nation in Europe, and that's exactly what is now challenged or threatened by the brutal Russian invasion.
So, I mean, the amount of times recently they've been saying the quiet part out loud is kind of astounding. He literally just said, like, Ukraine is going to be a part of NATO. And so in order for that to happen,
whether they like it or not, by God,
has to win. Like, and if Ukraine has to win, that means there's like, if that is the mentality, we are in World War III.
Well, there's
6
two
months
ways to
ago,
look
I
at
would've
that.
been- Go ahead, Zach.
I was gonna say there's two ways to look at what he said, like how you said it, of they're going to be, so we have to ensure that they win, and they are doing that a little bit, but also that they will only become a member of NATO if they win, which they almost certainly won't.
Interesting.
I didn't catch that. That's interesting.
Why does NATO still exist? Can someone coherently explain that to me? The Warsaw Pact, like, does that
Prop up the American empire, brother.
Yep.
I mean, that's all it is. It's
after the wall fell down, we were supposed to dissolve NATO because it existed to resist the USSR, from my understanding.
Imagine the world that if in the 90s we did, like when the Soviet Union collapsed and we, just embraced friendship and freedom and capitalism and all that kind of jive. But we didn't, and the war on terror happened, and now we're, pointing guns at Russia and China at the same time.
Do you want to get
drink up, fellas?
There we go. Hey, I'll drink to that.
Do you want to get like as far as war goes in general? Like I'm like working on like a theory for like each war and how it was basically serves a larger blanket conspiracy kind of a role, and that each war is fabricated and contrived and put upon us, and they wrap up certain emotional qualities in war of like, oh, we have to protect this people and that people, but again, those things are happening all over the world all the time in different areas, but why these areas? And the Cold War is one that I've been working on more recently, which is interesting. We're talking about Russia and everything, and I have a running theory that the Cold War was basically fabricated to build underground bunkers everywhere using taxpayer money to then use in the future for future different purposes, and we'll get into that another day or whatever. But
so you're talking about the biolabs in Ukraine? Is that like?
I don't know much about that as far as but I know that there are.
So during Russia's initial assault, right? When he was bombing like a school or a hospital, it was really odd that we had these old maps from the late 90s that 2 stories under these hospitals or schools is a biolab.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
After the Soviets vacated the area, we have been maintaining them.
Yeah.
And we did not decommission them. We kept them open.
There's a underground, like literal underground, just like more. For every item that's above ground, there's something equally more scary or more like underground. It's insane. What year it was was it 1981 or something? What year was it where we signed the whole treaty thing with Russia, where they were like the Open Skies Treaty or something with this in the era of satellites and everything, and we were like, oh, you can look at us and we can look at you kind of thing, and we were like, sure, we don't care, because we started putting everything underground anyway. And so anyway, that was like signing the whole Open Skies thing or whatever. But
that's pretty.
Are you guys familiar with the dead hand system? Just to freak everybody out. So Russia has a system that's like, instead of like, you've heard of fail safe, where something can fail but it doesn't hurt anybody when
it's
it
just
fails.
Like the dead man's trigger kind of concept.
Basically, it's fail deadly, where there's a nuclear I guess missiles, where if they can't get a hold of Moscow, they launch everything.
Yeah, every like 12 or 24 hours or something like that, or they got to set a code. Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Nice.
No, look up dead hand.
What? So like, if somebody's phone line just goes down for the wrong amount of time, we're all screwed?
Yeah.
We're all screwed.
So a solar flare is going to do more than I even thought. Great.
Oh, dadgum.
Perfect.
Come on.
Well, and they've got nuclear submarines off the coast of San Diego, in the Gulf of Mexico, things like that. I mean, there was news articles popping up all during the Obama years of Russian nuclear submarines spotted on the Gulf Coast. What?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was within a mile and a half of the shoreline. Oh, great.
We did. My wife did some research and found out that there are nuclear missile silos 60 miles from our property in Montana.
Montana's got a lot.
Nuclear target.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to the nuclear holocaust. It's going to be great. We'll see it from the top of a mountain.
Speaking of the Go. No, you said speaking of two. Go ahead. I talked.
I was gonna pull an Alden. Speaking of whatever we were speaking of, the Cold War. That's it. Speaking of Cold War, they're now like arresting different spies and trading them off too. Like there was just a Brazilian soccer coach that was arrested as a Russian spy in the U.S.
What?
And then they in turn arrested a journalist in Russia who was getting too close to military stuff, and they say had military secrets. And there's speculation that it's like we're arresting one so that we can trade and like Cold War stuff. But
Cold War style, yeah, that's interesting.
Didn't we do the same thing with Brittany Griner?
Yeah, we gave him the Lord of War, right?
Yeah. Like, what a fair trade that was.
Was that the WNBA player?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, a basketball player entertains literally hundreds of people a year.
Which, oddly enough, there's videos of her playing basketball shirtless on Facebook that are not flagged as nudity.
Yeah, I did see that.
Oh.
Send me those, Steven.
Yeah.
Need some late night material, Will?
Yeah.
For research, brother.
Right.
Just next podcast. Yeah.
Just doing our civic duty here, yeah.
All I'm saying is, if she has an apple, she may have a banana.
I was gonna go back to the thing that when Zach and I tied here.
Please do. Go.
So in the whole like nuclear war situation or whatever, another side of this, the underground situation. I don't know if you know or remember when it was like, leaked or whatever, that the locations of like where they would take like the president and everybody underground in DC and stuff, like in the case of a nuclear thing. But again, leaked, and then they had to pick a new space, and every time this happens, it leaves all these underground things like open or whatever. And if you look, there are websites now, I can send you guys some of these later if I find them in my notes and everything, for where now they are no longer like viewed as like important because we're not in the Cold War technically anymore. They're sold privately. So they were built with public money because they whip us up into a fear frenzy. And they're like, we need your money. We got to build these things. We got to protect the president. You guys are all screwed, but we need to protect the president. And everyone's like, take my money. Then they build these underground things. Then they leak the locations of it. So they're like, we can't use them anymore. They sell them. And now they're being retrofitted for billionaires. And billionaires literally own apartments in these places around the country and the world. And they're little resort condo things for in the event of the end of the world. They're powered their own way with like whatever it is, geothermal and nuclear or whatever. And it's like a little deposit and you have your little getaway for the end of the world.
Yep.
And the taxpayers originally built those damn things. Anyway.
So
it's a whole thing.
I'm following this whole conspiracy. This is like the Cold War was started to make like government housing for the lizard people.
We could get into lizard stuff later, but
that's what they're getting into, though, right?
I was just gonna leave it at the elite, like for now.
Yeah, I use that word interchangeably.
Those
not really lizard people.
Have you seen
like if you just knew a contractor, you'd be like, hey, you got the contract. Oh crap, that was leaked. We need another one.
Yeah.
Somebody's getting rich on the back end.
Yes. Yeah. And then there's probably a no bid contract like they do for like Halliburton and everybody else. And like, whatever. I haven't even looked into that, who built them, but that's another side of it.
A lot of the politicians end up being more loyal to whatever defense contractor they're working for too than they do the government or the American people or anything. So
listen, she's gotta spell my name right first.
Yeah.
Misspelled his name. You can't ask him to do stuff if you misspell his name.
Is that the Matthew McConaughey line? Yeah.
Is my accent that thick? We're all from Georgia. Is mine that bad?
I'm from Texas.
I'm from Florida originally.
Yeah. Okay.
I lived in Georgia for a while, but
yeah, me and Alden lived together for like 3 years.
Yeah. I feel like I have.
Danielle's blaming autocorrect.
That's fair. Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Alden, have you seen like the detailed videos of some of these bunkers that they're retrofitting?
I've seen footage of them. Or I've
'Cause
seen
they're
photos.
bananas. They have
Oh, I
like
know.
full-on indoor massive pools.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
have
yeah. I
a
was gonna say
bunch
the
of
same.
TV screens that make it look like you're looking out a window. So they'll have it like
They have
framed
the
like a
like
window, but it has
garden sounds and the
Yep.
forest and all that. Yeah, yeah.
multiple levels. Like it's bananas.
Most of those were originally Cold War bunkers that were abandoned that were built by taxpayers. We paid to have built, and that we won't see. We won't get any of that or whatever.
And if the military sells us for a profit, where does that go?
That's another fair
Back
question.
to us, probably, right?
Oh yeah,
You know,
we get everything. Yeah, of course.
Logic would dictate.
Yeah. No.
Or that would at least reduce the burden that we have to pay in that year. Hey, you made a profit on some things.
So we're not going to listen to this thing because it's just two guys talking Russian and it's annoying.
That's my favorite.
But basically, the French ex-president admitted that the Minsk Accords were a NATO ruse to militarize Ukraine and Western nations, and Western nations overthrew Ukraine's democratically elected government. He basically says in this video that that the Minsk Accords were just buying time for them to arm and fund Ukraine and to overthrow their government in 2014, so that we could be where we are today.
I don't think he's the first person to say that either.
Is he not? I don't know.
No,
but
no,
I
he's totally
this.
not. I mean, like, what did Poroshenko do that deserved overthrowing? You know, that Zelensky is not doing in spades. So it's just, I don't know what the pretense was for that happening, but we were there. I remember watching
was all to make Ukraine not a buffer state for Russia, so that they wouldn't join, you know, the Russian axis or whatever you want to call it, but be closer to the EU. I don't know.
I mean, I'm not
sure
surprised.
there's a little more to it, but
and that chess piece of Crimea right there that just cripples Russia if they don't control it, and it furthers.
Well, but that was, you know, didn't Catherine the Great deeded that over to Russia?
Sure, but just the point of like that's the Russian military uses that to get into water, like
yeah. But Catherine the Great was how long ago? So that means it's been Russian for hundreds of years.
Yeah, absolutely,
so.
Exactly,
yeah, for sure. My only point is that's what the American empire sees as like the prize for this Ukrainian thing.
Oh yeah, well, I mean that was Russian territory before we were a twinkle in the forefathers' eyes.
And it's not even like it would be easy to take. Like they talk about it so cavalierly, like, yeah, we're gonna take Crimea, but it'd be like taking a military base in America or taking you know, Virginia or something. It's not gonna happen.
Do you think they never intended to like somehow have Ukraine like control that area and cut Russia off? Or I guess maybe they were just throwing shit against the wall and see what stuck. And it's selling weapons along the way.
Well, I really don't know that they believe their own stuff sometimes. Like, does anyone actually believe they're going to be able to take Crimea, which is a military installation, basically?
Yeah.
And the entire town there, it's like going to, you know, Norfolk, Virginia or something. Like, everybody there is military.
That's interesting. All right. My last war bit is similar to a question we asked earlier. What's the best way to convey the anti-war message to a new audience in 5 minutes or less?
I mean, I think maybe just that it doesn't serve our interest. If you just want to look at it purely selfishly, it's like war only destroys. It makes us poorer. It's killing people overseas. And, you know, maybe some of them deserve it, but most of them don't. Even in this war right now, like I feel really bad for everybody involved because a lot of them are conscripts or just idiots who signed up for the military. And I don't know, it's awful all around. And it is just a geopolitical chess game that people are paying for with their lives.
I would add to that, maybe like building on that, because I worry that the it doesn't serve our interest thing would come across as like selfish or like anti-humanitarian or like I don't care. And I would argue that there's lots of things going around the world that, you know, I don't agree with and require attention. But it's when the media really lights a fire under everyone's ass to get involved in a specific thing is when it serves another agenda and another function. And I would actually highlight other wars in our own history and our involvement, and where retroactively we've been like, hey, there was a handful of people that were like, this is a bad idea, and there are not nukes under Saddam's house or whatever other BS we were fed. And it turned out to be that those people were right, but they got waved aside. And and just that it's not just that it's not in their interest, but it's that if you really want to help people around the world, that feeding into the war machine as it's already building its own momentum and you just being, kindling for it isn't like doing what you want it to do. It's not going to help anything. Like, right. I don't know.
No, where you're going with that, man. I feel you. And it's more like the people that don't want to hear our anti-war rhetoric are going to throw that like we're being selfish, like we don't care about Ukrainians or the type, anybody across the world. But like that is the war machine brainwashing the American people.
Yeah,
the biggest brainwashing that we have. Like our
and it's sad,
soaked in that, almost like that liberalism that turns us into the monsters. That not us, but like the American military. Like we sit there and worry about how the Taliban's treating women and children, while we ignore the war crimes that we, perpetrated on the people. We sit there, we condemn Vladimir Putin, but we go into Libya, Syria, just continuous war from our country, and then we sell it to the masses. I keep saying we.
Yeah.
Adam Kokesh a long time ago, like had a big thing about breaking ourselves, so referring to us as we. But like the lizard people, the people, the powers that be or whatever, they use our liberalism against us.
Yes, they abuse it and they take advantage of the emotions of people. That I'm saying those are good things. To care about people is a good thing. I'm saying it's being abused. And spinning off of what you're saying, looking at, so there's the war pitched to us. Do we do it? Do we not? What if we even skipped all that and look at the aftermath? Go in these countries where we've gone in and see how much better or worse is it since they're gone. I was just watching a documentary on this about, wrecked there's in Iraq even. So a lot of, the men were killed, the young men, more than, just women and children, but I mean, they died too. Like, but now there's a lot of like wives that are now like widowed, and they're looking and they're getting wed off, and they're getting deceived, and they're thinking that they're getting married and that they're going to get support for their kids and their family. And it's these short-term, like weird temporary marriages or whatever, where it's like basically like religious legal prostitution over there. It's insane. It's a run amok. Like this is just one way to look at it, where it's like that wasn't a thing before. We go in, kill a bunch of the guys over there, we leave, and in the vacuum, people come in and they're trying to make a profit, and like they just are taking advantage of the situation. And it's not like it's better over there. I don't know. I'm just saying that the aftermath is another way to look at it.
If I were going to frame it, like over lunch, 5 minutes or less kind of format, I would ask some questions. Which war have we fought in the last 200 years, including the Civil War, that really had a clear reason why, a clear mission on both sides, and a clear resolution? And then not only that, but did the outcome benefit either party really?
Yeah, resolution for whom? Like,
afterward, these countries that we've occupied, since World War II, Vietnam, even in the 80s, Panama, Grenada, stuff we did in Central and South America. What did that really benefit?
Korea.
Yeah, to what end? Exactly. Yeah, Korea too. All Korea did was make us hostiles with China, because we did cross the Yellow River. We were the aggressors in that case. So, and we didn't really have a clear mission. We didn't have a clear why. There was no clear, hey, this is what success looks like because this is why we're here.
Right.
So there was no end to it. And that's why, we haven't really won a war. I would even say that we didn't really win World War II, because between the Marshall Plan and all the German scientists coming over here and running our stuff afterward. and almost none of them getting prosecuted. I don't think we really won World War II.
If you ask NASA, we won. NASA won.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So
I think part of it too is like we don't fully realize what could be accomplished with peace. Like that's one of the big Ron Paul quotes is like we can accomplish so much more in peace than we ever could with war. Because like we have all this productivity going towards building bombs so that we can blow up a bridge overseas and then rebuild it. Instead of that going towards helping Americans, helping homeless people, helping, the veterans that we've made through all these wars, educating our own people. And we can do all that in libertarian ways. We don't have to, be like the socialists and throw money after it and get nothing in result. But it's like that's what we're doing now. We're just blowing crap up, rebuilding it, and then calling that a success when all that effort could be going into productive things.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, and just imagine if you're a kid over there, you grew up in Jordan or, Panama, Grenada, something like that. And the only time you saw the American flag was when your village was about to get bombed or your uncle was about to get shot. You never saw any money. You never got any food. No one came and helped you out. All you had was one less family member after they left.
Yeah.
So
you're probably going to grow up to be the next militant because if you bomb my house and kill my brother, that's probably going to be what I devote my life to.
Yep. That's what the first season of Jack Ryan was about. The John Krasinski Amazon show. The first season was exactly about that, bombing the Middle East and those people growing up to be.
Well, and all my veteran friends, like that's the big protest I've heard against the Geneva Conventions too. Hey, if we're at war, why are we trying to be ethical about it?
We're never at war. We haven't declared war since 1940, whatever.
Yeah, there you go. But if you're actually going to wage war on something, there's a reason no one rose up against the Vikings. There was no one left. So it's you're at that point you're either all in or you're not, and if you don't want to be all in, then it's not really worth fighting over like that.
And I would also say that like war gets sold to the party that is currently dominating the culture, and so currently dominating the culture is the left because they're in charge. They've got the presidency. They've got everything. And the war in Ukraine is a war of you must care for this other country. You must care for these Ukrainians, all these people who are, innocent civilians being killed. Whereas 22 years ago, it was sold as it was sold to the right, and it was sold as you must be patriotic. You must defend what we have, even though we're going overseas and we've been bombing those people, and that's why they bombed us this time. And it's like it's going to be like war doesn't give a crap what party it is. It's going to be
if you even believe that, but
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but even at the base level of that, you're right, and it's pitched to different groups very carefully. Mm-hmm. And this is like when we talked about this, like with working on your film, even, and like that I see it as like the left and right, like red and blue glove of like one entity, and that I don't really even see them as that separate. And I really think that there's like behind the sort of clockwork, there is a plan with the pendulum swing, and that's how it works. That's how you can piss off one group of people. Like when people, on the left in the 2000s were all like, hey, like don't do this or whatever. And then it's like they get, you get pent up hate and energy, and then you got to take that out. And when it's your turn, when you get a reason that feels good enough to you, you then want to take it out. It's funny how that works with people, but I really think that we all have anger. We all experience anger, and we all like need to let it out in like a way. But this is again manipulating people into letting it out in like the wrong way, and you feel like you're like, well, now it's our turn, and like. It's just creating that like back and forth between like the illusion of left and right. And I'm not saying that there's no differences between the parties, but I'm just saying I feel like we're being manipulated into being against your own neighbor, or family.
I would say there's no difference between the parties in the sense that all they ever do is raise our taxes, consolidate power,
and
commit more war overseas.
Yeah,
they're the war party, basically.
Yeah, regardless of who's in there, that's exactly what happens. Yeah. Because so during the Trump years, and this is a recent example here. During the Trump years, everybody's, we got to stop this big tech censorship. They're partnering with China. We can't have that. We gotta scale big tech back. And now all of a sudden, TikTok.
Yeah.
Censor big tech. Oh my God, we can't have TikTok. No.
I think what Jake was hitting on is basically like none of this is possible without propaganda. And like there's war propaganda, and we saw it when this Ukraine stuff was kicking off. We got hit with the propaganda hard. And some people recognized it and some people didn't. But that's one thing I think all of us can do too, is learn to recognize that and communicate.
I agree.
It.
Yeah, recognizing propaganda would be fantastic if your cereal boxes just came with little propaganda glasses or whatever. Like, what was that? The movie They Live?
Yeah.
Is that Wes
Roddy
Craven or
Piper?
whatever? Yeah.
Man,
I wish we all had just like some They Live glasses, man. But
I've always wanted to do like, some sort of true news, like a police blotter or something where, you see what's they're writing. And then you just write it in plain English, like kidnapped a guy today because they had a plant in their pocket, whatever.
Yeah.
So.
That's what I started doing that with the Libertarian Party of DeKalb County.
Really?
Yeah, I would just take headlines and rephrase them exactly how they should be.
This is almost like the Key and Peele interpreter for the anger interpreter for Obama or whatever. Like,
yeah, that was pretty great.
Mm-hmm.
That was a pretty great one.
Effective. You should do that, man. That's fun.
That's like what we just watched earlier with the brought to you by Pfizer, and then they collapse.
Yeah.
What was that, Will?
Fellas, I'm about to have to bounce. But
all right.
Thank y'all for having me on.
Thanks for joining us, Will. We appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, guys. Anytime.
Slancha.
Yeah.
We'll see you later.
Yeah. Peace out.
All right. Well, I wanted to share, Alden, as soon as you mentioned working on the movie, I wanted to share with y'all some of Alden's stuff. Alden drew 9 or 10 NFTs that we're going to put on the marketplace and sell that were based on Divide and Dominate. And we're just gonna run through them real quick because they're freaking great. This is NFT number 1, red door and blue door, but they both lead to the exact same place. It was obviously the theme is Divide and Dominate, so it was based on the movie. We've got 2 fingerprints with 2 people screaming at each other.
The identity politics problem, yeah.
Yes, identity politics. We've got this is one of my favorites. Got the Puppet Master playing both, which I would consider that the Fed, but I don't know.
Yeah, honestly, I could go with that.
People behind the scenes. Got the red and the blue people all drinking out of the same bucket. Which I thought was great. We got everybody sees what's happening, but it's actually a handshake deal or hand job deal, depending on how yeah, red and the blue straws drinking out of the same water. Or
there you go. Plot twist, it's quinine.
I love
keep
this
you from
one.
getting COVID, right?
Yeah.
I love this one. Yeah, I just thought it was really well done. I loved.
They're great, Alden.
Same old. And then, one person just pitting 2 people against each other. For everybody to see. Yeah. So we're going to be putting these up on the Peaceful Sea Productions website soon, and kind of putting them on what's the OpenSea, because there'll be Ethereum NFTs for people to buy and have and sell and trade or ignore completely. How most
you're right.
open
Yeah,
NFTs.
The open peaceful sea.
The open peaceful sea. That's pretty good. Anyway, yeah, I thought those were fantastic. And Alden, I'm sorry I've not made those into NFTs yet.
Oh no, that's okay. I was gonna ask you what became of those, but it's all right.
I'm planning on doing it when I release the new trailer for the documentary.
Oh, that makes sense when you get eyes on it, and that's cool.
Yeah, I just screenshotted all of them, so I already have them. By the way,
that's not how
that's
NFTs
not how
work.
NFTs work. Hopefully, right?
Come on,
yeah.
man. Come on, you should know this.
Just joking.
Is the new one the vet one? Is that what you're working on?
The new movie is, but I'm going to re-release Divide and Dominate with a new trailer.
Oh, that's right, because you said the last trailer was really focused like on that
Georgia.
particular run. Like, yeah.
When it's definitely a much broader theme, broader themed movie.
Yeah.
I do have a pretty awesome video to share. I mean, I know it's destruction of private property, but it's the best kind of destruction of private property.
Yes. There we go.
So
See, we were talking about Paris a few weeks ago. That doesn't look like, the typical French battle stance.
This is French protesters breaking into BlackRock headquarters in Paris.
Oh, good on them. All right. Yeah, normally I'm a pacifist, but if anyone in the world had to be the victim of violence, BlackRock is pretty high on the list.
Plus, I'm not even sure I consider them a private company, really. I mean,
right, that's actually
basically
fair.
A government entity.
Yeah, they do a bunch of trading with bonds and shit.
Well, and then, once you get to a certain level, you are a state in and of yourself.
They have more power than some states, man.
Microsoft,
state.
Amazon, Apple, all these trillion-dollar companies.
Yeah.
These folks are the reincarnation of the Dutch East India Trading Company.
Yeah, they have as much or more power than
Yeah, they technically answered to the Queen when they were still around, but they did what they wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would say they're more powerful than almost every country on Earth. Like,
they probably in money make more than most GDPs of most countries. Maybe not like the biggest few, but yeah,
for sure. I mean, yes, no, it's bananas. Let's see. Oh yeah, I had a little Spike Cohen clip from Kennedy. Let's see if I can get this up here. My mind is just messed up today, y'all. I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries.
Here we go.
All right, Republicans aren't the only ones saying this whole mess is politically motivated. In a new poll, most Americans also agree. According to CNN, 76% say politics did play a role in the decision to indict Trump. So, Spike, it's interesting because what do you make of the polling that people go, yeah, this is totally politically motivated? On one hand, a large number of respondents to that CNN poll, but then on the other hand, they go, yeah, but he should still be indicted. What does that say to you?
It says exactly that. 76% of Americans, according to this poll, said that they believe that this indictment is politically motivated. I tend to agree with them. I think that it probably is entirely politically motivated. Again, we'll find out tomorrow. But 76% of Americans, over 3/4 of Americans said, yes, this was politically motivated. 60% of them are cool with that. That means one of two things. It means either they're just so sick of Trump that they're okay with him being locked up, even if it's no good reason, which, remember, in 2020, the GOP had a good year overall. They won in the House. They gained in the House. They gained in the Senate. They gained in state legislative houses and in governor's mansions. They won in local races. But Trump lost. So it could be that the American people are sick of Trump. The other alternative is that the American people have reached a point of divisiveness in this country that they're perfectly fine with on a bipartisan level with politically motivated indictments of high-level political figures. And as unfortunate as that would be, if that's the case, then maybe we're going to end up with some kind of exchange program. Maybe the Democrats get to lock up Donald Trump and Mitch McConnell, and the Republicans get to lock up Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi and Gavin Newsom, and maybe the Libertarians get to lock up Anthony Fauci. I mean, we really don't know until we see it.
This clip made me think we should be cheering on these arrests. Full on arrest everybody. Just start going after each other, because by the end, we're the ones standing.
At least bring them to the carpet, put them on notice. Because that's Trump stuff. Yes, it's forgive me for saying this, but trumped up charges.
Steven's in timeout.
I don't have enough beer for that one.
Yeah, so as crappy as that is, we didn't just arrive at our presidents or war criminals or criminals just in general.
Mm-hmm. Right.
We didn't just now get there. This isn't the seminal moment. This has been happening,
right?
And it's been in our face for so long that our inaction is our endorsement.
Mm.
That there's been nothing done for so long.
Are you saying silence is violence, Stephen?
On a certain level, yes.
The flip side of that is to why now? Why start now? If so many people in government in general could be arrested, right? And I would honestly, in general, I'm not opposed to arresting people that should be arrested. I'm just saying that, like, I feel like this is like a poster child situation, similar to where like he's banned from Twitter or whatever. And again, was he saying stupid shit on Twitter? Probably, I don't know, but like, now it gets all, because there's so many people that hate him, it gets wrapped up in the people are willing to throw away their own rights in a like cut my nose to spite my face kind of a thing, so that we can do away with this one person. And I'm worried that the indictment thing is just going to be more of that. But
so everybody's getting all caught up in the campaign money. You know, oh, well, the campaign hush money, blah, blah, blah. This is a tax violation, all this kind of crap. Hey, Obama served on the UN Security Council without congressional approval. That's in the Constitution, bro. You are not allowed to hold 2 offices while you're president.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many. We could go back through all the presidents where, I mean, they're doing things. They're going to war without approval. They're going. I mean, all kinds of things. Like it's not new at all. But
I agree. Yeah, no, the whole thing is ridiculous. Like Danielle hit it on the head.
I was reading that.
It only applies to outliers. Like they're only gonna, like, Mitch McConnell's never gonna try to get Nancy Pelosi arrested.
Right.
Oh yeah. Well, hey, you remember Barney Frank? You know, when we're like, hey, do you have underage male hookers at your parties at your house? And he's like, look, half of y'all were there. I will name names. You're going to pass my bill and let me walk away. And they're like, you're right. I'm going to pass your bill and let you walk away.
Was he just like partying with them, or wasn't he running a brothel?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was a regular thing. Like, it was a business.
Is this like some Pizzagate stuff? Or?
No, this is legit. These were teenage male hookers at Barney Frank's parties, and it was a congressional party, apparently.
Yeah, if you're not familiar with Barney Frank, just imagine the worst person to listen to ever. His voice was awful. He sounded like he had a forked tongue. Like,
maybe he did.
Which, oddly enough, one of the banks that collapsed, he was on their board.
Okay. Yeah.
Was it Signature Bank?
Was it Signature or was it SBF? I think it was. Wasn't it SBF?
SPF.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't Silicon Valley. It was one of the other ones. It was. Okay. I think it was like Signature Bank. They collapsed with Silicon Valley, but he was on their board, and he passed. I mean, it's named after him, the Dodd-Frank bill that's supposed to prevent this crap from happening, and he's doing it at a bank. And of course, his comeback to that was, oh, well, I waived my congressional pension.
Yeah.
I wasn't taking a pension, so I have to have a job. I have to work. And it's like, well, you waived your pension, so you didn't have to register as a foreign lobbyist.
This is like the same thing that, like,
small amount of money for this large amount of money. No big deal.
Right. Yeah. Or I got that fee or penalty of, the slap on the wrist thing to be able to do the thing that hurt a lot of people to make way more money, or it's my husband that's investing in the stock market and I don't have any say in that, and the whatever, like it's wink, wink, nod, nod. Yeah.
But no one's looking at Kelly Loeffler. Doesn't her husband work for the company that owns the New York Stock Exchange?
There's so many conflicts of interest. It's insane.
Like, well, she works for Bakkt, which is owned by ICE, or she's CEO of Bakkt, which is a crypto company that is owned by ICE. And then, I think her husband may have been running ICE, Intercontinental Stock Exchange, or something like that.
I mean,
right.
It never ends.
But no one looks at her. It's the weirdest thing ever.
I had friends that worked there, and they were like intimidated by her. They'd be in the elevator and just be like, don't talk to her.
What about all the people that are like politicians now that were like on like the board at like Pfizer and different places that then had say in like rolling out the emergency level, status on the vaccines and various other things? And I mean, it's at every turn there's something like, but
or how somebody speaks out against something and then Fauci gives them $7 million grant and suddenly, it's not a lab leak, it's a penguin.
Yeah. Right.
Or if you're like Judy Mikovits, you can oppose him and lose your license and get thrown in jail for slander.
Yeah, or Bill Gates is donating money to your media or whatever, and you're supposed to be unbiased in talking about him and his role in this or whatever. Again, we could sit here for 3 hours and keep coming up with examples of this same kind of thing or whatever. I don't know what to do about it though. Like,
Jake?
What's that?
Have we got any Bill Gates money?
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I have a brand new conspiracy theory.
Sure.
Actually, well, here's the article. Did y'all see this? Bob Lee, Cash App founder and former Square executive, found dead after a horrific act of violence.
Oh yeah, I saw he was stabbed to death.
He got stabbed to death. This guy is pretty young. This guy right here, Bob Lee. He, as it says, he founded Square, or he founded Cash App and was an executive on Square.
Okay.
But what he was working on now was he was helping with the Signal private messenger app.
Oh,
no way.
He was working on that, and he was working on building its own, like its infrastructure and a crypto basically that would be untraceable and all that kind of stuff.
As soon as I saw Cash
Signal.
App, I assumed this had to do with crypto. I didn't know it had to do with Signal. That's
well, I thought that was Monero, because John McAfee was talking about.
Well, Monero does a similar thing, but he was building something specifically for Signal, and building a crypto currency specifically for Signal.
Where was he killed? What was the
San Francisco, I think.
No. I mean, like, was he in his home or in the street or the?
Oh, he was in the street. I'm pretty sure.
Are they saying it was just random? Are they saying it was a robbery? Usually, it's like person's apartment was robbed, and then it's like nothing was taken, and you're like, well, okay, that makes sense.
Which, and here's something else, just like a side note. It's not really relevant to this, but people talk about hate crimes. Oh, hate crime, which I think is stupid anyways. Any violent crime is a hate crime, but more specifically, stabbing someone to death, you really hate them in that moment and really want them to die.
Yeah.
Like
that's an intimate way to kill someone, man. Yeah.
The thing that happened on the street in San Francisco, though, makes me think it's probably not a conspiracy.
I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. I can't imagine Bob Lee walking through a place that he knows he shouldn't be in.
But people get like messed up in San Francisco in the good parts of town. So,
but like, is it high profile people who are working on a secret cryptocurrency that would be untraceable to the government?
But if San Francisco is the tech town, so if that's going to happen, that person's going to be in San Francisco.
That's the perfect alibi for them.
Yeah.
Zach, quit defending
it's Seth Rich all over again, right? I mean, maybe not on that magnitude, but it's...
Who's Seth Rich?
Seth Rich was was he the chair of the DNC at the time?
No, he was just just some dude at the DNC.
He was very high up in the DNC, from what I understand. He was one of the dudes. He was in their executive committee, or that level. And so he had some stuff on his laptop, and he was just murdered in the street.
Well, the speculation
was still in his pocket, phone was still in his pocket, watch was still on his wrist.
So the speculation is that when the DNC was hacked, he actually leaked it to WikiLeaks. And then
he died, so then he couldn't refute or whatever. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I didn't know about this person.
They called it a robbery, even though nothing was taken.
That's what I'm saying. They've been doing that since, like, they said that about like Marilyn Monroe when she was killed or whatever. They've been using the same thing for decades. It's so stupid.
And also, Julian Assange heavily implied that Seth Rich was his source.
That's hilarious.
That's great.
Yeah.
Which we can pay an homage to Rush Limbaugh, because I know when he started radio in Atlanta, he opened his first show saying most traffic in Atlanta is caused by women farting in their cars, but it was FARD, which is a French word for putting on makeup.
Oh.
And so that was how he started his radio career.
That's pretty dang good.
Yeah.
That's a good start.
Let's see. I've got two more tabs. One.
Good night, Danielle. Thank you.
Good night, Danielle. Thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate you watching the show. Let's see. First tab. Scott Horton tweeting about Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Is he running for president? That's the last I had heard.
Yep. The collapse. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. said the collapse of the U.S. influence over Saudi Arabia and the kingdom's new alliances with China and Iran are painful emblems of the abject failure of the neocon strategy of maintaining U.S. global hegemony hegemony with aggressive projections of military power. He keeps on talking, but I'm not going to go into it.
I don't see how that's going to work for him running for president. Have you heard him speak?
As a
like
Kennedy.
there's
He's
that,
a Kennedy.
and
that's why. That's how it'll work. Like
I respect him, but his charisma level, like he just has a hard. I don't know if he has like I don't want to be mean or anything, but like just like a speech impediment or something like that. But he has a hard time, like just like enunciating, and
that's not being mean. He really does have a speech impediment.
I really think that there's I didn't want to just
everybody laugh at him now. Then we can
okay. No, like I'm really interested in reading his book that he wrote about Fauci and everything, and like I've listened to podcasts with him and stuff, and but I have to turn the podcast up to like as fast as a playback as it'll go, or like my ADHD brain will like explode because like trying to like wait for him to finish a sentence just doesn't work for me. Like, so I don't know how that'll work for him running, and I wish that we lived in a world where it didn't matter, but I'm just speaking to like that charisma wins, as we've seen usually, but it's not that
nothing else. It'll be good to have him as a candidate because he'll throw a whole bunch of medical information out there. So he's had lawsuits against HHS since before COVID was ever mentioned.
Yeah.
Because that was one of the things, 2019, November of 2019, there was the WHO, there was an emergency meeting, at the UN. They were talking about, global vaccination rates have plummeted. People are losing faith in the vaccines. People aren't taking them anymore.
Right.
People don't believe their doctors. And then some of the doctors started getting up and saying, hey, well, did we ever study if this demographic has this adjuvant and this adjuvant and this adjuvant, because we got trivalent and quadrivalent and pentavalent vaccines now, all this stuff, 3 and 4 and 5 and 1.
Mm-hmm.
And we're giving them 2 in the same visit. So really they're getting, up to 10 shots basically in one doctor's visit.
Yeah.
And they all have their own modalities of entering your bloodstream and making your immune system activate a certain way, all this kind of stuff. Did we ever do a cross-sectional study of like this demographic gets this and this in the same time?
Yeah.
Did we ever study that? And there's just silence.
Yeah.
And he was one of the main guys, spearheading that, because I think it was 2016. He finally got before Supreme Court. And it was the secretary of HHS, because that was part of this is one of these gifts Reagan gave us as well, by the way, was the immunity to the vaccine companies. And part of the deal was every 2 years they're supposed to do a safety and efficacy study and report their findings to Congress. And so he was doing a FOIA request wanting these documents, and they didn't have it. And so then finally he sued them, and I think it got all the way to the Supreme Court. It was at least a federal circuit court. And the HHS secretary admitted, hey, I haven't submitted these documents because they don't exist.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
they were never provided.
If they do exist, they'll never.
The linchpin of vaccine maker immunity, legal immunity, the linchpin of that was the safety and efficacy studies that are going to be done every 2 years and then reported to Congress, and they can revise whether or not they still deserve immunity.
Mm-hmm.
The quid pro quo, the other end of that was never done.
Yeah. I know we were talking about RFK originally, but now I wanted to add, do you know that I think it's vaccines are like the only like pharmaceutical like item that they don't do testing for the oh my goodness, the effect where like your body basically produces the effect. I'm having a brain fart where like
everybody let Alden stew in his.
Yeah, there we go. I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to follow you.
Antibodies?
No. Like when pharmaceutical companies always have to test against the effect where like you in your own mind can produce the same effect that a drug does. Placebo. Thank you. I said it like yesterday and I couldn't think of it, but anyway, yeah. I think that vaccines are the only things that don't have to go through a placebo test to prove that they are as good at what they're doing as the placebo effect would be. They get around that with some legal thing. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and I'm personally against some of them because what is it? It's IMR 90, WI 38, and there's another one too. But it's diploid cells from an aborted fetus. And I don't think you have to have a dead baby in the freezer to make an effective vaccine, because the Japanese showed us back in the 40s how to harvest diploid cells without using dead babies in a freezer. but
Right,
yet we
right.
still use that stuff. MRC5, WI38, MRC5, and IMR90. If you look at vaccine ingredients, those are the three that come from harvested dead baby cells, basically.
That's interesting. I don't know much about that.
I know
I don't know much
literally
about where
nothing.
they.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, and that's like, so you get into flavorings and stuff like that. So PepsiCo, Doritos, they use a company called Synomics.
Please don't say there's dead babies and flavors.
Steven, are you about to ruin Coke for me?
I'm not saying there's dead babies in flavors, but they use dead babies for flavors to make them more appealing to certain demographics. And it's gone before the Supreme Court. And our conservative hero from Georgia, Clarence Thomas, said it was okay as well.
More appealing for lizard people. They want to drink that day,
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait.
God.
Which
That's crazy.
Which sodas? Which flavors? What are we talking about?
Well, so Synomics is the one. Like, if you really want to go down the rabbit hole on that, Synomics is the company to look into.
Okay.
There was a Supreme Court case around that, and that was they use aborted fetal cells to do their research.
Interesting. All right, y'all. We're about to wrap up, but I've got a couple things to talk about before. First off, we're going to start releasing this in podcast form, audio only, on iTunes, Spotify, all that kind of stuff, which is why I've been trying to describe the videos a little bit more tonight. So like this will be the first one released to the world through that method. Second, I think next week I'm going to have 10 questions prepared, and we're going to do a little trivia game. And the winner of trivia each week will get to pick the conspiracy topic for the following week.
That's cool.
Come on, Zach. Let's talk about cryptids.
So,
are you guys both into that? That's cool.
Yeah.
He suggested it. I'm like, yes, I could talk about that.
So
I can talk about cryptids all day.
We're gonna do that. I'm gonna come up with a little trivia game. The listeners and watchers who are watching live can play along as well.
That's cool.
And we will,
So what if two people have the same answer? Do we get to like buzz in or something? Like, how do we?
No, we'll go around. So each person will get asked, like,
so
you'll get asked a question. If you don't know it, it'll go to the next person. If that person gets
okay.
it, they'll get it, and then go to the next.
That's fun.
So yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Conspiracy trivia. I'm into that.
Yeah, it's not necessarily conspiracy trivia.
Oh, okay.
It's just any type of trivia. It might be random crap that none of y'all know except for me. We'll see how it goes. Thought that'd be interesting. Zach, do we need to talk about anything before we sign off here tonight?
No, not really. Just check out thegreatcreate.org.
Mm-hmm.
Our big festival coming up.
Yep. Let me go ahead and pull that up.
And then your screening at, in Fayetteville.
Next Saturday.
Yeah.
Town Square Playhouse.
Yeah.
All right. Let's
lpgeorgia.com/screening for that.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Great Create for a second first. So Great Create happening in 35 days. We've got a lot of speakers. We've got a lot of people demonstrating different skills, different things you can learn to be a little more self-sufficient. It's $42 for the weekend. It's nothing. We've got 4 blocks of films that are going to be there. We're doing a little mini film festival. We got 3 feature films and 1 block of short films playing. And so we're excited about that. We've got a band, the Bib City Ramblers. Let's see if we can go pull them up. I think they're down here. There we go.
Yeah, I'll just say real quick, too. Like, my neighbor is in a John Cougar Mellencamp cover band, and they sold out their concert. We can't be beat by John Cougar Mellencamp, so come see the Bib City Ramblers.
Yes, come see the Bib City Ramblers. Come see Mr. Adam Nutter and Matt Carter doing a little stand-up comedy on Saturday night.
And actually, just to tease it a little more, I wrote a stand-up set to introduce them. I don't know if I'm funny, but I did. So.
I'm already laughing, so I think it proves you're funny.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So if you can, get on down to Perry, Georgia, May 12th through the 14th, because it's going to be a really good time. I'm very excited.
I wish I were going to be there.
Yeah, man.
I'm going to be there a month late.
Yep, that is a bummer. And the other event is a screening of Divide and Dominate down in Fayetteville. It is on April 15th. I believe it's at 5 p.m., correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, there it is, 5 p.m. 5 to 8. I'm going to be there. We're going to have a little Q&A afterwards. We'll see if Shane can show up. I don't know. I haven't asked him yet. I guess I should ask him. I guess I should ask him if he's going to come. He's done nothing with us for a couple months, so I think I can guilt him into coming down.
Can you guilt him into coming on this show at some point?
Yeah, we're going to do a Bitcoin, very specific Bitcoin show. At some
okay,
point.
that's cool.
So he will join for that one. But yeah,
on Libations?
Heck yeah, man!
Right on.
Yeah, that's his area of expertise. That's what he's all about, is the Bitcoin.
Awesome.
So anyway, yeah, I think that's it for this week, y'all. So everybody who tuned in, everybody who's still watching, thank y'all. It's over 2 hour show. We really appreciate y'all watching, y'all listening. We have a good time talking about all this. I know Steven needs to vent these things out somehow, otherwise he'll explode.
I will absolutely, I will actually explode if I don't actually get to talk about these things. My wife could care less.
To Mary, so she doesn't have to hear it from you. So
well, she's got this awesome ability to just shut her ears off while I'm next to her.
Yeah.
So she it gets said near her either way, but yeah, she doesn't actually have to pretend like she's paying attention this time.
You're describing my relationship with my girlfriend.
y'all got to get your significant others on my wife's level, because she is all in, man. She's like Bitcoin, gold, silver. Like, let's do it. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to talk to Mary about education? Hey, dude, she will riff for days.
All right.
About what's wrong with the education system.
You can talk to my girlfriend about the Lord of the Rings and cats, and that's about. That's the extent of it. No, I'm
Two
kidding.
good things.
Hey, Magic the Gathering just released a Lord of the Rings edition. So
no way, really?
I'm about to spend too much money on that.
Yeah. I haven't played that in a while, but that's interesting.
I've never played that. Oh,
yeah.
Did you ever play Settlers of Catan?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
So Tuber died this week. The guy who invented it.
Really?
No.
Klaus Tuber died this week. Yeah. So, yeah, big bummer.
I'll have to pour another drink for him the next time I play.
Oh, yeah. Cheers to him.
Yeah. Cheers to him. He's the sole cause of some of the closest times I've ever come to ending my marriage. Is arguing over whether or not that trade was legal with my wife.
I'll give you 2 sheep for your wood. Like, yeah. I love games that allow for like random tradings. Like, that was like the only good thing about Monopoly was like, hey, like, I'm gonna cut you a deal, like, because it's Monopoly is like too random, but like the dealings are what are fun.
Yeah, we do full laissez-faire, like anything goes. You can trade futures,
sexual favors,
sports. You can trade anything that's part of the game. Basically.
Okay, because I was like, anything goes. That's a big statement.
That's how I landed a second date with Mary. I had 2 hotels on Park Place. Like, I'm out of money. I'm like, it's going to cost you a date next Saturday.
Yeah, some footsie under the table here. Like,
perfect. All right, y'all. Well, thank y'all so much for joining. We're going to get some ending credits in here soon, but for now, we're just going to end it awkwardly staring at the camera. So we'll see y'all next week.
Perfect.
Tune in to Free Georgia Podcast.